you're not going to get like someone putting their Hall of Fame resume at risk for, in my opinion, for $50,000, $100,000 to take a dive at a 250 somewhere. But the ATP Challenger Tour, they just signed a huge deal with was it Sports?
It's all part of the larger deal with SportsRadar, which basically has a 6-year deal overall with the ATP.
Yep.
And so they claim that due to that deal and this thing called the TDI, the Tennis Data Innovations, which the ATP owns, that you've seen 160% increase in Challenger Tour prize pool money since like 2022.
Well, it's $14,000 now to win the same tournament that I won in 2000 when I played Challengers. It's $7,000. So math is I'd need to have some details on that. So I'm assuming they have details on what percentage split goes straight to the player's prize money with these betting deals.
One would assume that'd be easy to find, but no.
Great.
Why don't we ask the ATP? Would they like to comment? We anytime you see data deal, by the way, I mean, that's just a euphemism for we're making a deal with a sports book. The way these press releases are worded always crack me up, where it's you make it sound like these are great analytics and these are problem solving, innovative. They have all these buzzwords. It's basically just you're paying a sports book for the right to the data so they can then have they can have gaming and gambling. That's a great question to the ATP. Just flat question. How much money are the players getting out of these data deals? What is, I mean, they can't have sponsorships, which I always think is kind of weird, right? Imagine if the US Open said, hey, we've got to just name a Lincoln Continental is our sponsor. We're doing a deal with them. Here's a splashy press release. But if any player is seen driving a Lincoln Continental, they are automatically banned. So the product is so problematic that the players would face a ban if they used it, but apparently not problematic enough so that you can take sponsorship money if you're the institution. I'd love to. That's a great question for the ATP. Simple question, simple math. How much money of this is going to waterfall down to the players?
And at all levels, they're using basically like the candy of this much is raised and it's going to go down to the challengers. How much is going to go there? Yeah. And is that going to go to infrastructure or is that going to go to pockets? Right. And the increase since 2022, that's fine. But the prize money at challengers was an increase for 20 years before that. So I could almost make a press release say anything that I wanted to. Right. Like, so I struggle. And I will say, like, to your point, JW, I'll give you real life experience. I had a deal with Betway for 2 years. I am not clean of any of this. I didn't give gambling picks. I basically took it's not dissimilar to what I do here where you give an overview of a tournament and they use it. So I wasn't making specific picks. So I wasn't, tilting betting lines or anything. Me saying Carlos Alcaraz, I think he's one of the favorites at Wimbledon, isn't really, I would assume it's not changing much. But the reason why I bring that up is to one, listen, raise my hand, and if we're going to talk about something, let's be fully transparent. And two, as they're going through it, the amount of people that weren't allowed to be associated with it was pretty airtight. Obviously, JW mentioned the players, and I'll get some of the timelines wrong, but you'll get the gist of it. It was anyone who's going to be like a captain. So basically, is there a captaincy in the offing some point in this deal, and is that a barrier? Right? Those are conversations had. If you had worked with a player, if you were currently coaching a player, or had worked with a player in the last 2 years, if you're credentialed, at certain tournaments by a player, right? So there were all these restrictions to where the only people left to, give a tournament summary for any one of these companies was like a podcaster, right? It was a pretty skinny, narrow lane to JW's point, but then all of a sudden we're announcing, these massive deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars for the tours. And it's like, listen, if we can't sign the same deals with the same partners that you're signing to benefit, how much of it is actually going into our pockets? Because there's an offset, right? And this is the way I look at it. Nothing's clear. Like we talked about the Saudi 1000 last week. And one of the points I've had a lot of chatter. We do these shows and I get a lot of texts from people. By the way, I fucking hate requests for off the record conversations. Just so we're clear, I don't want an off the record conversation if we're talking about something that you're addressing that I said on the air.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be wrong, but just tell me I'm wrong on the record and I'll come on here and explain why I was wrong.
Or you can come on the show.
Open invite. Always. Always an open invite.
Yeah.
Always. Clear as day. No problem. Come on. Tell me why I'm wrong. I would love to hear it. The Saudi thing was interesting because there's like different layers to all of these things. So I came on last week and we didn't really talk about the Saudi specific of the deal. It was more just schedule and where it's going to place. And we knew this was going to happen. And, you know, hopefully it's for good. And hopefully it's going to make a change. Right. Despite of, you know, and then everyone's like, you didn't talk about how bad it is enough. Okay. But listen, the ATP, what's your data point with the Saudi money coming in? And I'm using this as an example, and we'll get back to gambling because it does come together. The example that we have is the Saudi money coming in and blowing up golf. That's our data point. That's our precedent. That's what we have. Now, do we want to potentially invite that into our sport where all of a sudden it's blown up and no one knows what's going to happen? Or do we want to give them a tournament in the calendar?
Yeah.
Seems like the safest option is to give a tournament in the calendar, right? So it's not a perfect decision. There are a lot of strings. There are a lot of things. But is it the biggest insurance policy to not get your entire tour blown up by people that probably can't afford to really cause havoc? What do you think, JW?
I think I think it's a really good point. I think the difference between the LIV approach and tennis's approach, but I also think it goes the other way too, right? If part of the reason you are investing in sports is part of this national rebrand, right? Part of this sort of reputational laundering. I'm not sure Saudi Arabia looked great blowing up golf and having dueling lawsuits and this tour and viewership drops. I think tennis had some leverage here and said, listen, guys, you can go ahead and try and go bull in a china shop and blow this thing up and go sort of hostile takeover. Is that really going to accomplish your end? If part of this is reputational, is that really good for you? I'll tell you what we're going to do instead. You're going to get an exhibition. You're going to bring the women over here. We'll have Nadal. We'll have some big names come and legitimize this. You'll sponsor the rankings. And this will look a lot more strategic and civil. You're not going to blow up our sport. You're not going to get the bad headlines that came with LIV. I think tennis had a lot more leverage here than perhaps they even knew.
Well, but we don't know how they exercise their leverage because we don't know the financials of the deal.
Right. You're talking about for the Masters 1000 specifically.
Yeah. So like we don't. That's the point. Like they announced this gambling deal, but we don't know what goes to what. Mm-hmm. The Saudi deal, we don't know what's going to go to buybacks. We don't know if they come and they say, "Listen, this was the least worst of our decisions on the table, and we can accomplish a month back in the schedule and fix this problem that's been an issue for a long time." Okay, at least maybe we can. There's something good that might come out of it, right?